Be better than Mark Pope. He's a good dude. But this video that he did at the Marriott Center, and the way that he went out the door at BYU is going to haunt him, because I think he did himself. And I'm interested to see what you guys think. We can't play you the video, but I'm interested to see what you guys think about this Mark Pope situation at Kentucky. Now, obviously, Mr. Pope was a home run hire for Kentucky. He is an alumni there. They have been trying to bring him back to the program as an assistant for several opportunities, but he was always a rising star in the head coaching circles, so he wasn't available. You fire Calipari, you can't get Drew from Baylor, so you hired Mark Pope. And I think he's hit a home run. If you look at the way, and we're going to show you some video in a minute, but if you look at the way that they handled things at Rupp Arena for his introductory press conference, that is wild how many people showed up for that. Social media influencers, news reporters, alumni, fans, boosters, recruits. We're all at Rupp Arena this weekend to meet Mark Pope, the new basketball coach at Kentucky. And as somebody that covers BYU basketball on a pretty regular basis, it is disappointing to me that Mark left. It's a huge loss for BYU. I hate the Kentucky hype video he did at Marriott Center. I thought it was a bad look. But the biggest question to me is, can Mark Pope go and replace a guy like John Calipari? And I have no doubt that he can. I have no doubt that the fan base is excited for Mark Pope. I have no doubt that Kentucky fans want to win championships more than they ever have. And that moment is now, because what you don't want to talk about if you're a BYU fan is that Mark Pope is a championship caliber coach. He's the right guy for this job. He's in the right space. He's in the right time. And he's got a very unique skill set where he is going to be able to win at Kentucky. I have no doubt about that. The bigger question for me is, what's next for BYU? Because I think one of the things that you're seeing with Mark Pope is now the reins of the honor code and the culture at BYU are off of Mark Pope. And we're filling Rupp Arena, and he's bringing in the championship Kentucky teams, and he's embracing the fan base, and he's talking about hanging banners, which he never did any of that at BYU. Because it's almost impossible to hang banners at BYU basketball. It's impossible to bring back you're not having a championship team. It's impossible to recruit the highest caliber of player at BYU. Yet he goes to Kentucky and he dominates. And I don't know that I've ever seen a guy go into a job in college basketball the way he did here and dominate, never having coached a game for Kentucky basketball. What we saw in Lexington over the weekend is nothing short of remarkable. The 1996 championship Kentucky team gets off a bus that they drove into the arena to introduce Mark Pope. Not only that, they used the Chicago Bulls introduction in front of a packed Rupp Arena. Winning. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, and I think there's a couple things at play here that I think are awesome just for conversation's sake. Number one, winning when he won gives him instant credibility walking off the bus, obviously, right? I mean, that goes without saying. I think, a lot of credit to Kentucky's PR team, Kentucky's marketing team having the vision to do that. deserve a lot of credit because, again, when the Jazz or anybody else does anything like this, we don't get the bus rolling into the arena like swag. So a lot of credit to them for that. Number two, it has to be said at BYU, if you're going to coach that team, the next spot you go to feels like a breath of fresh air because it feels like you've been muted for however long you were there because of the way they go about business. And again, it's not saying BYU sucks. It's not saying BYU's terrible.
No. It's not even saying that BYU should change because I don't believe they should change. BYU should not loosen the honor code. And this next hire, whoever it winds up being, the next head basketball coach at BYU should absolutely be a member. There's just nothing else to talk about. There's no other way to even go about it.
I didn't even, but what I'm saying is that for me, it's not even an honor code thing. I just don't see the same fire. And I get it because he won a championship. It's Kentucky. Okay. There's a lot of built-in stuff there, right? I get that, but I just don't see the same type of fire in BYU basketball, the same type of passion. I'm not saying you got to go out and go against, things like the honor code or the way business is done at BYU. I'm not even saying that. I'm just talking about like pure passion for going out and trying to win ball games. I don't really feel that in the program overall. And so my question and my observation was like, hey, like it feels like Pope is a guy that did really great work, obviously getting to the tournament. They had a great season, but this feels like, hey, I'm out now. Cat's out of the bag. It's time to go out and just slay people. And I'm telling you, Kentucky fan, and I'm not quite sure. Obviously, this is the dynamic we always get to at the show where I'm the younger person who maybe doesn't appreciate what was done in the 90s.
Maybe.
Okay, cool. I don't appreciate anything that was done before 2000. Great.
Does that feel cathartic to say that out loud?
Yeah, it does, because I don't think Kentucky gives a damn about Mark Pope's championship. I don't think Kentucky fan in that building.
I think you're completely wrong.
Well, I'm happy to be wrong, but I don't think that a 20-something in that building, Rupp Arena, gives a damn about that championship. You know what they care about? They care about the fact that Calipari's gone. Now the boosters are back involved, and they feel like they can go out and get talent and be relevant. That's what they care about. 30-something-year-old remembers the Devin Booker Kentucky teams. We remember. I remember. 100% I remember. But they haven't really been the same.
I'm telling you, if you are a Kentucky basketball fan, and I don't care if you're 5 years old or 105 years old, 1996 was one of the best years of your life. Because, and again, this is going to probably piss people off, but Kentucky basketball is a little different than your basketball. It's why a lot of people wondered, hey, is Scott Drew even a fit at Kentucky?
Mm-hmm.
And why is Mark Pope a fit? Well, because he won a championship in 96. Because he's an alumni. He understands the culture. He understands the fan base. He understands the fit. He understands that this is about one thing for him at Kentucky.
Every coach in America, at every other job in America, stands up in their press conference and they try and moderate expectations. We don't do that here at Kentucky. When Mitch called me and talked to me about being the head coach here at Kentucky, I understand the assignment. We are here to win banners. That's what we're here.
Listen, I don't hate it. Scott Drew would never have done that. I think that having won a championship and having been a part of what arguably is the best season in the history of Kentucky basketball, I get it. I get it. But if you're a BYU fan this morning and you're watching that, it's awfully difficult to digest that. You're never going to be that. And that's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It is a little different in football, but not that much different. And I look at Kentucky, and I think you have to embrace the idea that Kentucky basketball is just a little different. Their arena, they had people who could not get in the arena because it was too full.
Yeah.
Waiting outside because it was too full. For a fucking head coach, not named Drew.
As he so eloquently stated there, a press conference. Like,
it's remarkable. And I agree with Mark Pope. Most guys are like, well, we've got to build the program and we've got to get our recruiting and we've got to bring back the roar of the Kentucky Wildcats.
Please donate.
Okay, we'll see you. We'll see you for the fundraiser. Right? Not this guy. Mark Pope, he's the perfect dude. He is that guy who just understands it. And pressure at Kentucky is real. I think they hit a home run.
Now,
I truly do.
I have to say, when I first saw this video, it does have LeBron 6, 7, 8, 9 championships energy to it. And I love that out of Mark. I get it. I love it. I'm not criticizing him for it. But I just think what's going to be really interesting is how he goes about getting talent. Obviously he's going to have money in the NIL situation, of course. But I think it'll be, I'm just curious to see how long does the reviving Kentucky basketball storyline live? Because once you go out and win, now we're talking about what's the message going to be? We just have to keep winning. Like, cause that's why there's so much heat there, because it's like, hey, we're reviving this thing. We're bringing Kentucky back. We're here to win.
He took BYU to the tournament. He won at UVU. This dude can coach.
Yeah.
Like, he is a really good coach.
Yeah.
I hope people understand that. I really hope people understand that Mark Pope's a good coach, man. Like, it's going to be very interesting to see how long does it take him to recruit?
Yeah.
How long does it take him to ramp that up? Because I think that's a very, very interesting question. Very interesting question. Boyd Lake, now Pope has to win with the one and done guys. So hard for him, but it won't be one and dones anymore. And I think this is the interesting part about John Calipari leaving Kentucky, because we're starting to hear the trickle of people that now are saying, like, Kentucky's best case scenario just happened because they could not fire John Calipari. And the Tyson Chicken King came and stole him.
Yeah.
I don't think they are crying a tear over. And what did John Calipari do? Sat up there in a nice suit and suey and.
Yeah.
Is Kentucky basketball better today than they were a week ago?
100%. Yes.
That's the thing that's amazing.
And again,
that's the thing that's amazing.
To your point, like, I do think Kentucky's one of those blue bloods that, dude, when it's right, like, it is really right. Like, it is energetic. It is full of money. Like,
and they have the NIL commitment. And I think the one and dones are not over with, but with the explosion of NIL and kids staying in college now, because one of the things that I think kids are starting to learn through NIL is that when you've got it good in college, it's tough to beat that your first 5 years in the NBA, because you are a king on campus. When you're a basketball superstar at Kentucky, there's no better living than that. Especially now with NIL, and you're making $5 million a year in NIL as the best player at Kentucky, and you're back to going to the tournament, and you're back to competing for Final Fours, Sweet 16s, Elite Eights, Final Fours. You know how tough it is to beat that living? That's really tough to beat that living. And Kentucky's a destination. It's just John Calipari didn't. I think John needed a change of scenery, because that dude didn't forget how to coach either. But I also remind you, he's in his 60s. Mark Pope is not.
Yeah.
Mark Pope's a young guy that's going to talk about restoring the roar in Kentucky. I think it's absolutely a home run.
And it is, I would agree, proper label. Best case scenario for Kentucky.
Shooter Texas, can't imagine what they would have tried to do with Scott Drew. Can you imagine Scott Drew getting off the bus? Like, No, because he didn't win a championship in 96.
I'm telling you, it's instant credibility. It just works. And I'm sure that there were people in the college basketball world who are like, wait, they hired the BYU head coach? But then once you look at it, you're like, yeah, this makes perfect sense. Totally get it. Totally understand it.
Dakota Tubbs, I don't think Pope will have the same one-and-done structure that Cal cultivated at Kentucky during his time there. And this is what I was saying about Boyd's comment. Like, the one-and-done is not your normal reality anymore.
Is UConn suffering from one and done?
I mean, and that's that's what I think we're starting to see, is that as good as San Diego State or FAU was last year, you're starting to see that the Dukes and the Carolinas and the UConns and basketball's coming back.
NIL is restoring hey, I'm going to play at a big time program for 4 years.
And there was also a really good story on 247 about Deion's impact on the Colorado basketball program. And I thought it was brilliantly put. Deion restoring the excitement of Colorado football brought Colorado basketball back to the fore. He's playing a role in that. Money matters. I'm telling you, money matters. It's going to be fascinating to watch. Giggity. Hey, Boyd, when has Pope ever been in a position to truly have an opportunity to track one and done guys? Never.
True. That's a fair point.
Never. And look at all of his guys transferring, which hurts. BYU basketball is going to be in a dark time. You had better hire, I think Burgess is the right hire, but you better hire somebody that can recruit the state of Utah, because you are going to need to replenish, and fast. You're going to need to replenish fast. RJC Loner Phone, AD at UK caught totally off guard when coach. I disagree. I think the reports now are obviously there was a relationship problem between Cal and Kentucky, and he hadn't been winning enough. And I think they knew they were in a spot where they were not going to be able to let him go.
And what do you mean fumbling higher by getting fifth option? Like,
it's a troll comment. It is
what
it is. It is what it is. If there's no way you believe this when you watch what happened over the weekend, there's just no way. Christopher Shannon, hello. 23-8 in first season in the Big 12 is pretty darn good, though. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Dakota, loner phone. Are you saying that Kentucky got a loner coach?
Straight from the Kremlin, baby.
Let me get this right. They fumbled hiring Mark Pope. Rupp Arena was full. He drove in a bus with the 96 championship team and talked about hanging banners. Yeah, I don't know how you could have messed that up more.
Dude, what a fumble that was. If that's fumbling, can I just fumble into the paint every time?
So funny to me that once a troll, always a troll. Brandon Butler, I still think your top tier player's still going to one and done. Flag isn't sticking around Duke for multiple years. Let's find out.
Did you see what it's going around, though? People have picked up now that he's done some workouts and he's played in front of some bigger eyes. People understand who Cooper Flagg is, which is a all generation, all world defender who needs a lot of work on that shooting form. And I'm not saying he sucks, because he doesn't. He is very capable.
I think Cooper Flagg
development project
is a project.
Yeah. Yes.
I think Cooper Flagg will be will be at Duke several years.
Yeah. And if he does, I could see him being a much better offensive player when he leaves Duke, if he stays a couple years.
He's one of those guys who I think was such a unicorn at his age that's how he got prominent. And then when he started playing up, that last year, and I could be totally wrong about this, I think he was playing against 18-year-olds last year. And that's where some of the cracks in the facade of Cooper kind of came out. And he's grown, and now he clearly has gotten in the weight room. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I think he's a project, in my opinion. NBA is different. NBA pays players based on potential and age. One and done for NBA is here to stay for the NBA. NBA prefers young talent to build their future on. I think one and dones, the burnout rate, which is to say the flops at the top of the NBA draft in recent years, have been so many that you're having trouble making money as a like Bronny James is going to be an interesting case study, because are you going to get drafted because of who your dad is? Probably. If Bronny James was not LeBron James Jr., he'd still be in college.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even be a conversation. But you kind of start studying the landscape. Look at the percentage of one and dones, because it is going down.
Yeah.
Significantly, to the point where I would remind you, NBA G League teams are shutting down, like G League Ignite, which was wholly owned by the NBA, which its only job was to take kids who didn't want to go to college and prevent them from going to Europe or Australia and keeping them in the NBA pipeline. Scoot Henderson is a notable example. Well, now they shut down the G League Ignite. And why is that? Because they offered, of the kids they offered, 75% of the G League Ignite offers are going to college. Whereas before, like, they were losing kids to IMG Academy. They were losing kids. A lot of young kids went to Australia when Australia had that American boom. They're going to college. And I think you're going to see they're going to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only people outside of Scoot that I could even pull off the top of my head from G League is Ignite is the Thompson twins. Weren't they G League Ignite guys?
Yes.
So I mean, it's really those three who are the big names who have really come out and done something in the league. And I'm just telling you, man, college basketball is a have and have not game, just like anything else. If you have money and you can pay NIL, you're going to compete. And if you can't, you're not going to.
I think it is very difficult when you look at the last really good draft was probably the 2020 draft. Anthony Edwards, superstar. James Wiseman, number 2, complete and total bust.
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball. At this point, the jury's out because the kid can't stay healthy. Patrick Williams, Isaac Okoro, Oneka Ogangwuawe, Killian Hayes, Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin was the 8th pick of the first round.
Busted that pick.
Devin Vassell, good player, at 11. You got to go to Tyrese Halliburton at 12 to find another one. Tyrese Maxey at 21.
But even look at those two guys. Both of those guys are both 4 or 5 year guys before they really started hitting their stride.
But then you start going forward. You look at 2021, Cade Cunningham, injuries. Jalen Green, now starting to emerge.
4 or 5 year guy.
Evan Mobley. Scotty Barnes.
I would say worthy.
Solid, not spectacular.
Yeah.
Jalen Suggs, Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga, Franz Wagner, Davion Mitchell, Zaire Williams. You don't have another all-star in the first round. In fact, you don't have another all-star the remainder of the draft in 2021, one of the worst drafts in the history of the NBA. Okay, well, 2022, now we're talking about, okay, Paolo Banchero.
Stud.
Number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to find me an all-star? Oh, wait, there's not another all-star in that entire draft. I said there's not another all-star in that entire draft. But Monty, look at 2023.
You already know who's popping up in 2023, man.
Victor's the way.
Not a single all-star came out of the 2023 NBA draft. Not one. Now, Victor Wembanyama, clearly a generational talent.
Yeah.
Brandon Miller? We'll find out. Scoot, the Thompson brothers.
I think Brandon Miller is another Jalen Green case.
Anthony Black? Guy. Well, Anthony Black. Oh, wait. I mean, Coulibaly, Walker, Taylor Hendricks for the Jazz. Don't even get me started on the Jazz.
Dude. We ain't even got time for that today.
Probably the best player there is Derek Lively the second. I mean, he below V-Dub, I think you're going to struggle to find somebody.
Right.
So the bust that has been the NBA draft, I think you're starting to see this is why kids are staying in college.
Yeah. Well, and I think the NBA draft gets real strong and really deep when you get into the, hey, it's become college basketball culture now to be somewhere 3 or 4 years, right? In one program and develop and become a really good player. And now we're getting into the draft.
And I would also point out, the thing that's terrifying about this coming draft? Look at all the foreign players that are going to be taken in the top 10. You should be terrified.
Mm-hmm.
You should be terrified because I look at Alexander Sarr from Australia. Good luck. That's going to be your number 1 pick. I think not close. And then look at that. Rob Dillingham from Kentucky. Okay. Interesting. Reed Shepherd from Kentucky.
Oh.
And then you start getting into all like Stephen Castle. Probably a top 5 player, I would think, right?
Yeah, probably.
I would think. Then like Donovan Clingan is a perfect example of a guy that I would not a 10-foot pole. Not a 10, but he's going to go top 10.
Well, I think a lot of people, not to go too deep on it, but a lot of people look at him and say, hey man, this is a much more athletic and usable Rudy Gobert style player. That's what I've seen a lot of.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
You don't have to guard now. You don't have to guard him above the free throw line.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that we're in a position where the NBA draft has completely changed. Completely changed. Why are you guys talking about the spring games? I see a bunch of spring ball. How about little Cam Bam up on the hill there?
Looking just a little good, right? just okay. Yeah, looked really good.
If you're a Utah football fan, are you not excited? The spring games were kind of a bust this year, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're OG Gary and you're a fan of like 50 teams, then that was a whole day for you. But yeah.
There hasn't been, and I think a lot of it is they're being very careful, and there's not a whole lot of, is leverage the right word?
Yeah, I mean, reason, like incentive to go out and go hard in the spring game. I mean, I think that, again, it's a glorified practice. Let's be honest, right? And it's great that ESPN has a bunch of this, and God forbid football fans would go even 30 days without a football game on the field, right? But I think if you're a Utah fan, you're really happy. You're an LSU fan, you're really happy. I think that, this is the first step for Cam Rising, showing us that he can stay healthy and that he's actually back and that they're actually going to compete in the Big 12.
Well, let's find out when the portal opens tomorrow what happens, because I think that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Let's see. Lively is benefiting from going to a great situation. If he's on the Blazers, he's struggling. Very well could be. Very well could be. Mike Smith. Some draft years are better than others. Some same applies to the NFL draft. Au contraire.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that the NBA draft has been significantly watered down. There's no doubt.
The NBA draft lottery has become a lose-lose for everybody. I mean, it's become a lose-lose. You are, again, I'll go pick it. Let's go. Like, if you look at 2019, okay, let's look at the 2019 NBA draft. Just you can keep going back. It's a trend. It is a trend. You look at Zion Williamson, bust. Ja Morant, bust. Darius Garland at 5 is really the only other player. So again, I'm asking you, you look at these.
It's really interesting.
Where's the player every year? Oh, well, Monty, some draft. It's not been some drafts. We're talking about 5 years of NBA drafts where more people, significantly more, have busted out.
Yeah,
than have been successful.
Well, and I think we're having to redefine what actually a legit top 5 pick is, because you look at Zion, and I would even throw John to this given the time he's missed with both off the court issues and some injury stuff. But I feel like we're having to redefine what a true franchise player is. Like, Anthony Edwards is a true franchise player, right? Durable, plays a ton. Like he's in that superstar cut. But like, Zion and Ja Like before the off the court stuff, Ja was not a bust. Ja was 100% legit, like great draft pick, franchise player. And now we're having to wonder, hey, is this guy ever going to stay out of trouble? And we looked at those 2021 draft and 22 draft, and it's like, yeah, cool, man. Like Derek Lively, neat. Like,
But
great.
you even go back to 2018. That's probably the last superstar draft. Number 1, DeAndre Ayton, total bust.
Yeah.
Marvin Bagley III, number 2, total bust. Luka Doncic,
Legit.
Jaren Jackson Jr.,
Legit.
legit, not a superstar. Trae Young.
By winning standards, he's a bust, but he is a franchise player. He is.
All NBA player.
Yeah.
Then it's Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter, Colin Sexton, Kevin Knox, Mikal Bridges.
Colin Sexton.
And then at 11, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Franchise player.
A
Right?
true, legitimate franchise player.
The third pick of the second round, Jalen Brunson, franchise player. Right? But after that draft, you've got a player here and a player there, and that's it.
I would be remiss if because of where we do this show from, if I didn't say, does it not upset you, Jazz fan, that the Jazz are not prioritizing development right now, given these drafts?
Oh my God.
Given the fact that the pool is so watered down, like given the fact that you're not going to get a franchise, the Jazz are notorious for not drafting SGA at 11. You know what I mean? Like not finding that franchise level talent that they can develop into their guy.
You mean like Donovan Mitchell, who they haven't? No, I'm not doing it.
I'm gonna, in all fairness, Donovan's been the same guy in Cleveland he was here, bro. He has not lived up to it. And
in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you don't think
he's been the same guy. He's had a good season. He can score, but they're not better for having him on the team.
Well, that's probably true, but he also doesn't have the supporting cast he had here. Like you don't have a Bojan Bogdanović. You don't have in my opinion, what is Cleveland fourth, 48 and 34.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at their stats and you look at who really contributes on that team, I mean, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert, Max Strus, he doesn't have the defensive stalwart.
But dude, he's got the minivan coming off the bench. Come on.
True. It's very true. Tristan Thompson is who you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All I'm saying is yes, George Niang is on the Cleveland Cavaliers. the Dodge Caravan. They don't have the players around him that they had in Utah. You don't have the Mike Conleys.
Yeah.
You don't have the, Bijan Bagsnatchevich.
Yeah, you don't have the first team
Bijan Bag nothing.
All wing defender buckets bench playing for you.
Yeah, it could be. Chris C, the NBA has become more competitive. Do you see the fight for the playoffs in the Western Conference? OKC are all young prospects that were drafted young to develop, and they sucked for how many years?
Yes.
They're coming into their stride at age 21, 22. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think you're looking at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as a legitimate superstar. And obviously Chet has turned into a franchise player. And yeah, no doubt about it. You're exactly right. I mean, I think we'll see. Christopher Shannon, Trae Young's a baller when he's healthy and a terrible teammate. So you have this.
Yes.
He's going to be a tough guy to trade this summer, but we'll see. Shooter Texas, what would you say now about Keontae George? He's getting better. I have always believed he's the best player that they've drafted in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think Keontae was a guy that everybody knew was going to be good. I think that, you could clearly, and that's the other thing too. Like you can see the guys that have that top end talent and just need refinement from a skill standpoint, and the guys who maybe don't have the talent but have the skill, and you can work them in other ways. And I think that, the question is not whether Keontae George was ever going to be productive or not. Mm-hmm. I think that in fact, if memory serves, I believe we said on the show when they drafted him that he was and should be the starting point guard of the team as soon as possible. And that's the part where, and again, not to get too deep into the Jazz, but that's the part that I've disagreed with on this. I guess if we're calling this a rebuild right now, with the development strategy, why are you trying to win games? The idea that you're flirting around playing Kenny Lofton Jr. and winning games at this juncture in the season with the draft coming is absolutely wild to me. Like, you let that guy potentially hurt your draft position. And now we're going to,
I think you're lucky to have gotten the A spot.
Yeah. Like, you're very lucky, very, very lucky, dude. And so why is it that it took them so long to just throw Keontae into the one and let him make the mistakes and learn and play all those
Taylor
minutes?
Hendricks.
Same deal.
Only playing 40-something games, or Bryce Sensabaugh.
Like, come on, dude. And again, the Walker Kessler situation.
The Walker Kessler, yeah.
Like, good Lord. Go Jazz. Go Yotes. All right. Neat.
RJC Loner Phone. Monty not mentioning how bad an optic it was to be publicly spurned by multiple coaches. Well, just so you know, they weren't publicly spurned. Dude, you get such a hard on for your opinion, and you can never back it up. You can never back it up.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about whether or not, I miss the press conference where Scott Drew was like, yeah, I hate Kentucky. I'm staying. Nobody wants a Kentucky job. Where's the public spurning? If anybody wants to let me know where the press conference was, where you had multiple coaches saying, I'm not taking the Kentucky job. I would never go to that shithole. Where was that exactly? Maybe you don't go so far out of your way to say ridiculous stuff that you can't back up.
Yeah.
And maybe you won't be publicly spurning yourself. It's never about the guys you tried to get. Did you get the right guy? And again, I just ask, would Rupp Arena have been full this weekend if Scott Drew had gotten hired? Would the 96 team have gotten off the bus if Scott Drew had gotten hired? Would you have had more fans on the outside than the inside at Rupp Arena over the weekend if Scott? You're at that point where you've kind of joined the Michigan fan thing, where you just say things that I like. What do we even?
Yeah.
I look at the coaches. Where, like, pick another coach that was a candidate for the Kentucky job, a Dan Hurley. So let me get this right. You just won 2 championships at Kentucky or at UConn. You're going to leave that job for Kentucky. Why would you leave that job for Kentucky?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kentucky's head coaching search was very similar to Alabama's, right? I mean, Alabama, Dan Lanning said no, like Sark said no, Buddy and the Sip said no, Lane Kiffin, right? Like, you had loads of dudes who said no, and then they went out and got dude from Washington. So, like, to me, I don't think that I don't think Kentucky was spurned. You know what I think it is? I think there's a shift in personality happening at Kentucky from a big picture standpoint. I think that John Calipari did amazing things at Kentucky.
Billy Donovan,
another example, right? Billy Donovan, another name, and would have been a fine hire. I don't think anyone would have criticized them for hiring Billy Donovan, but I think that the thing that is happening that I don't think guys like RJC Loner Phone understand is that Kentucky's going through a rebirth in a sense that John Calipari did great things, but because of the contract, he was there too long. He got stale. They had to move.
I would hope that you'd be going after Dan Hurley,
the best of the best.
I would hope that you'd be going after the elite coaches in college back, because you're Kentucky.
Yes,
you're Kentucky. Like, stop being a troll. Stop being a troll. Mike Smith donates 1 Monty Show member.
Am I allowed to play it this time, or?
I'm just waiting.
Oh, okay.
Mike Smith donates 1 Monty Show membership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And good morning to you, Shouty, he says. Brady Cook. I just feel like Ryan Smith doesn't care about winning, also making money. I think Ryan Smith is a paper billionaire. He's a straw man. Ryan Smith is not. What has he done to make you believe? Here's the real kick in the cock. If you're a Jazz fan, what are you going to do when he wins a Stanley Cup with the Coyotes before the Jazz even make the playoffs? What are you going to do? Because if they truly wind up putting the Coyotes here, which it looks like that's a done deal, and we as taxpayers pay him billions of dollars, he builds a new arena, they win a championship, or they can, let's say that they go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Will he have paid for another free agent for the Jazz? Will RSL have competed? I'm going to guess he won't.
But the building will be redone.
He'll have a new building. He'll be making new money. But will the Jazz be a competitive team?
By the way, how long is it going to take to do this, supposed renovation project of downtown? Because that ain't happening in a year like the building.
I'm telling you. It is what it is.
And I was thinking about this over the weekend. Like, you ever notice that the guys like the Ballmers of the world, with the Clippers as an example, you ever notice that those guys can just pretty much make happen what they want to make happen, like, repeatedly? Like, that's not the Ryan Smith situation. And I think that Ballmer and any of these other dudes are able to move because they actually have the liquidity to move.
As much as I don't believe that Arizona is a hockey market, I just don't think there's a passion for it there. I don't believe there's a passion for the NHL in Utah. I don't. I again just continue to tell you, the problem in Arizona is not the Coyotes and their 7,500 owners that they've had. Municipalities in Arizona understand they've got to pay for fucking water. They can't be paying for stadiums, so they're not going to.
Yeah.
Municipalities in Arizona understand that they have a problem with resources. The problem in Utah is our municipalities don't understand that we have a problem with resources.
Yeah.
Our municipalities don't understand that there's flooding on the Jordan River because the water table is so destroyed from all the new houses we're building. Oh, but Monty, we're behind on housing. We're behind on affordable housing. Yeah. We're not behind on $600,000 to $800,000 houses. But thankfully, we'll have a new arena for the Jazz and the whatever they're going to call the Coyotes, and it's going to be neat and lots of fun. That's great.
And the building will do well. Everybody wants to go see the new circus in town, 100%.
I think the first 3 to 5 years, it'll be great. What happens when Ryan Smith stops spending money, which is what he does, he has not invested a dime into the talent of this Jazz team.
Yeah.
Where's the investment? Where's Ryan Smith doing anything possible to be something other than Gail Miller? Because she was a better owner than he's been.
And maybe we just misunderstood what Ryan said, right? I mean, Ryan did say, hey, we're trying to carry the torch, right? We're picking up the torch from the Millers. We're trying to represent them well and keep this organization moving forward. Well, maybe we mistook that. Maybe we thought he meant that he was going to try and win, when in the reality, he was just going to strip it down and move along.
I think it is very interesting that when you look at Ryan Smith, and I didn't want to talk about this today. I specifically did not want to talk about this bullshit
today. It's inevitable.
And here we are.
It's inevitable because as sports fans, what happened this weekend? Honestly, it is inevitable to talk about the Yotes and Ryan Smith because of what happened in sports over the weekend with Kentucky and everything that's changing in the landscape, right? You look at these different situations, and again, because it involves BYU, Salt Lake City sports fan, or Utah sports fan, if you will, sports fan that lives in the state of Utah, is forced to say, well, damn, well, BYU's out a head coach for basketball anyway. All right, well, what about the Jazz? Are the Jazz, maybe I can, we'll put BYU basketball on the back burner, let them figure their stuff out. Let's watch the Jazz. Oh, well, the Jazz aren't doing good. Well, then where are we going to go? Well, I'm a BYU fan. Not me, but if you're a BYU fan, You're not going to root for Utah football, obviously. So
I don't
you're
know.
forced into it.
Steve Ballmer's interesting to me. They did not put money into, they did not ask for public money. And I'm pretty sure, I should look it up before I rub my mouth, but I'm pretty sure he also dumped $100 million into the community around his new stadium.
Yeah.
Of his own money. You know, like I just think that you have to, in my opinion, do what the Cronkies did, which is pay for your own goddamn stadium at SoFi. What Ballmer did. Oh, wait, those are real billionaires. Never mind. My bad.
And by the way, I'd also point out, do you see the kind of what should we call it, carriage that they get with the fan base because they use their own money? He can say, the Ballmer Group can say, hey, we're building you a new stadium with our money. We're improving the community.
And here's $100 million to help your community.
Like,
on top of the stadium, here's another $100 million.
I can't emphasize how different it is to do that versus going to your legislature where it's all built in.
He's such a good person. He's in the church. Oh my God. Ryan Smith is great. Did you see Ryan the bro with his hat backwards?
What's the Bible quote going to be this week, dude? I'm so sick and tired of it.
I'm just at a point where I'm tired of hearing about how, like, we had a bunch of people DM us about what we said about the church.
Yeah.
I must have gotten 7 or 8 DMs about how I don't understand that the church has put billions of dollars into the community. Okay, over its history, the church has donated billions of dollars, millions of dollars to homeless initiatives. They have done that. Yet here we are giving them zero heat over their land deals, zero heat over their tax shelters, zero heat over the fact that we have no idea how much that organization makes and how they spend it. But we do know that there's addicted people quite literally laying on the streets around Temple Square. It's great you're giving millions to homeless people. What are you doing about downtown? Oh, that's right. We're giving more public tax money to Ryan Smith and the Jazz. So we'll just gentrify it a little more. Now, all of a sudden, you know, the homeless drug addicted guy that's got a needle laying on the ground next to him, now he's further south into South Salt Lake. Now he's further north into North Salt Lake. That's a North Salt Lake. That's a West Valley City problem.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, but did you see the new building Ryan Smith built downtown? Dollars to donuts. What do you want to bet, Ryan Smith? Oh, look at Ryan Smith's new stadium downtown. Billionaire, owner of the Yotes and the Jazz. If he's a billionaire, why does he need handouts? If Ryan Smith is this connected guy on Silicon Slopes, why does he need handouts? If he's a tech genius with relationships, why does he need public handouts? What's he doing for the water problem we have here? What's he doing for the air quality problem we have here? What's he doing for the fentanyl addiction that is quite literally murking our young generations in the state of Utah? Nothing. Not a fucking thing. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
But is he taking our 0.5% sales tax to make him more money? He is. He is. Are the Jazz winning? They're not. The savior of the Utah Jazz, Ryan Smith, hat bro, backwards. He's on the Pat McAfee show. Oh, and everybody ripped me when I said, when he went on the Pat McAfee show, you guys are the hottest team in the NBA. Bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
No, you're not. You're the 8th. You're slotted 8th in the draft again.
Yeah.
But take our public money. Please have it. Just leave those drug addicted guys. Yeah, it's fine too, because they're going to be so dehydrated because we're not going to have any drinking water here.
Don't worry about it.
It'll be fine.
Don't worry about it.
And then we're going to pay the Millers to build a baseball stadium where there's not going to be a Major League Baseball team. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Notice nobody talked about the fact that the A's aren't coming to Salt Lake. And notice that just flew under the radar.
We'll be fine. We're fine. We're giving billionaires billions of dollars. And we can't afford, most people here can't afford to buy a house. Oh, but money. There is no but money. Oh, look at all the new houses that are $800,000. Who can afford that? Where's the, oh, but we did it. That's right. The Tangerine man did a tax thing to save everybody, right? No. Why is Ryan Smith in business? Because he got tax breaks. Don't sell me on what this is going to do for our community, because it's not.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that money, the 0.5% sales tax, couldn't go to building affordable housing, couldn't go to land management and issues with our air quality and our homeless and our addicted and our kids and our, I don't know. I'll say it again. I will say it again. Pay teachers more money.
Yeah.
Pay nurses more money. Pay cops more money. Pay first responders more money. Help our veterans that are struggling with PTSD. Help our veterans that are struggling to find jobs. Take your 0.5% sales tax away from Ryan Smith and put it where it's needed.
And I love the assertion that just because the Salt Lake Valley is growing, that we have to have more major sports teams. That somehow that there's a correlation between, oh, well, more people live here, so at some point we're going to have to add sports teams. I don't agree with that. I think that to add a sports team, you got to have justification for that. And again, not once have Ryan Smith, Smith Entertainment Group, the Utah Jazz, anybody related to him ever put out a study that has said that, hey, we pulled, 10,000 Salt Lake residents or whatever. And they all said, yeah, we would love to have.
Got to have the NHL here. Got to have it. That doesn't exist.
And I agree. It should be called a handout. Because
what else is it?
Legit? Well, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, it went through the legislature and, went through the proper process. But if you're actually having a fair and honest conversation, it was always going to go through the legislature and it was always going to get passed.
And it was never going to go to a public vote.
Yeah. Because why is that? Because he knows he doesn't have the support, just the same way he knows he doesn't have enough money to do this on his own.